So let's look at the idea of going back to where we started, what a general director is. What are the qualities that you need to run an opera house? And I mean, can you list, say, the 5 top things that you need to, if you were appointing somebody else to run an opera house?
Yeah, well, obviously you need to understand opera, and that means the opera business, and that means being at least aware of the imperatives of all aspects, which are fundamentally the fundraising side, the marketing side, the technical side, the artistic side. Very important, an understanding of we call it programs and engagement, that aspect of a company's life, which is only growing in importance. And also, as a motivator to the company, it's important to lead by inspiration rather than dictate. So I think you don't have to be an expert in all those things, but you need to understand in order to make the balanced decision. And there are times when every single one of those departments has an important imperative. And it's knowing, and I guess it's partly instinct, as to when you need to say yes to that and no to that, or vice versa. And I think the days of the autocratic approach and ones which say, we're doing this for the art, I think we've moved on from that, and I think that's because there's an understanding. You said it yourself earlier that that art actually happens in the space between. It happens in that connection moment between what the event is and the audience reaction, and that is different from we have to do this because we think this is right. And I think the general director needs to be tuned in to that, to have a real sense of who his audience is, and that's not to be slave to it. But, otherwise you end up wall-to-wall Puccini. This is not to say, you do what audience research tells you people want, because you're never going to go anywhere. But you need to understand the experience on offer, that what we are creating are moments which we want to live in people's lives way beyond getting in the car after the show. I want them to wake up. Art is a fusion of emotion and thought. And the great advantage of opera, it always seems to me, is that the emotional level is hypercharged. But we can't wallow in that. There's no point in doing that without something, the purpose for those human interactions of the drama, which is built into the structure and meaning of the piece. So we just need to steer that happy medium, which changes from work to work, as to what its core purpose is.
So 2 things. There was this idea of a general manager or somebody who ran an opera company as being an impresario, essentially somebody who was sort of had a creative part in the process of the art. So you think of Rudolph being, he was almost sort of a casting person. He, his taste in singers was what made the Met in the 50s and 60s. So how much do you get involved in creative process? Do you think of yourself as an artist or an administrator?
Well, the job of the general director is both. Whereas the dual split makes it very clear, and actually you have to be an element of both. So of course, I have a view of what I want opera to be, which is exciting theatre, wonderfully sung. Therefore, when auditioning, I'm looking for singers who are going to communicate that text. They're going to communicate the idea. Of course, I want them to be able to sing it. That's an absolute given. But the tone of the general director sets the tone of the company, and that is the tone we have and are angling at WNO. But not all companies want that. In America, it was very clear. You get different companies there.
Well, when you say tone, do you mean taste, or is it your own
taste? It is ultimately about taste, isn't it? But it's taste, but with a purpose. So yes, it's taste, but it's more than that. It's an attempt to marry a vision for what opera should be with a receptiveness of the audience who you're dealing with. Is what it's about. So yes, it's taste, but that shouldn't override the mission of a company, if you like. And you know, I would never mention names, but I can think of companies now where it's very much one person's taste. And I think that was, you know, it was a way of doing it, but I do think we've moved on.